What's going on, guys? Black Scout Survival. Got a late night live. Try to get it a little earlier tonight. And we're talking about, can the U.S. be invaded? We're going to talk about strengths and weaknesses and maybe some things you don't know about and what's the potential of a Red Dawn situation. So, especially the stuff with Ukraine and Russia right now, a lot of people are talking about if Russia were to attack us or invade us, or China, the tensions with China and stuff like that. What is the potential of that actually happening? What kind of defense do we have? And how this would play out essentially. So the United States has been invaded a few times in history, but no invasion has ever been able to make headway, let alone occupy the lower 48 states since the War of 1812, when the British burned down the White House. Mainland United States has two big walls on the east and west, the Atlantic and Pacific Ocean, right? Um, so that alone, the U.S. has a lot of deterrents in place that would essentially pulverize any invasion attempts of the U.S. mainland. Enemies would have to break through layers and layers of deterrence to, and most of them being abroad before even having a chance of setting foot in the U.S. John Farrow, thanks, man. So they'd have to break through our allies essentially, and I'll get to that in a minute, to even get to us. Basically, anything other than an alien invasion to successfully attack and occupy our country through conventional means is impossible. Mark Fallows, thank you, sir. Yeah, unless it's ET, some Independence Day movie, Will Smith type stuff, it would be very difficult to invade and occupy our country. American Advocate just said we've already been invaded by Democrat Party and corporations. Wait till the end because you're going to hear something. Also, some pretty good news too. Before I forget, go follow Black Scout Survival Instagram, because after this live, we're going to be going live with our fellow Marine brother, Robert Spangle, who is on the ground in Afghanistan. He's, frontline reporting for us there. A lot of people say, where do you get your information from? Mainstream media. No, we got people on the ground. Former recon Marine. He's on the ground. He's a journalist covering stories. He's taking photos and stuff like that. So we'll be interviewing him on Instagram. And the reason why we're doing Instagram because he's not on YouTube. So we'll do it on our Instagram. And I'll put a link to our Instagram below. So number one, what is the biggest deterrent from being invaded? Nuclear weapons, obviously, right? The U.S. strategy, just so you know, for invasion is deterrence and containment. So deterrent, stop the fight, and then contain it in another location. In a U.S. invasion on mainland would result in facing our nuclear arsenal. And so it's actually, the fact is that it's kind of an understanding that no nation with nuclear weapons have ever been invaded and occupied since the development of nuclear weapons. It's kind of like the known fact. So, for example, Russia, Ukraine, Russia's invading. You think, why wouldn't Ukraine just send over some, rockets over into Russia? Well, because they're going to be met with nuclear force. That's how this is kind of like the default plan of action. If a nuclear power gets attacked, they're going to retaliate with nuclear weapons. We didn't do that with Afghanistan. Those were terrorists, which is a little bit different, but if a actual force, and we're going to talk about that kind of stuff too towards the end. Since the Cold War, we have something known as mutual assured destruction, or MAD, right? And so this is a principle of deterrence founded on the notion that a nuclear attack by one superpower would be met with overwhelming nuclear counterattack, such that both the attacker and the defender would be annihilated. So essentially, we got into it. Russia and America got into it. We had completely destroy, annihilate each other with nuclear weapons. So we know that, So if someone were to attack us with nuclear weapons, understand that they know, like, this is Armageddon level stuff. Like they don't care anymore. They don't care about death, or maybe they'll do it in impending death. Let's say you push Putin into a corner and he knows he has no way out. Maybe he just says, "Screw it, I'm gonna start launching nukes." So that would be a situation where maybe the guy does a offensive attack because he knows he's not going to make it out. So just because we have that deterrence there, uh, that mutual assured destruction clause, doesn't mean that someone won't do it, right? um, America. So 5 states: China, France, Russia, United Kingdom, United States officially recognizes the possessing nuclear weapons by the NPT, or non-proliferation treaty. And so this is put into place that we're not supposed to be continuing to develop nuclear weapons. I mean, we can, I guess, update ours and stuff like that. And everyone can update, but that's the reason why North Korea had such a issue, because they're not in the treaty. They were, and they went out of it, and so they started building their own weapons. America has 1,389 strategic nuclear warheads and 665 intercontinental ballistic missiles, submarine launched ballistic missiles, and strategic bombers. So we have, a wide array to deploy nuclear weapons. Okay. We have 100 B-61 nuclear gravity bombs that are forward deployed to 6 NATO bases in 5 European countries: Aviano Getty in Italy, Germany, Turkey, Belgium, and the Netherlands. A total estimated US B-61 stockpile amounts of 230. So we have them placed around the globe with our allies. So if, like, the containment situation, we get attacked, we have them, like, they're going to be hitting within moments in their country. So these nuclear weapons allow the United States essentially to strike back against enemy anywhere, and in protection of our allies and of itself, with the goal of crippling that country's ability to wage war. So the idea is that we would send these, and so this could be one of these things where the Russia-Ukraine, where they say, well, we need to cripple Russia from waging war. I would think that'd be the dumbest move in the world, but uh, Biden has shown us that he's a smart guy. So anyway, anything's a possibility. But essentially, they serve as nuclear attacks on U.S. soil, um, but also logically against any ground invasions in any U.S. territories. Right. Number 2, U.S. bases around the world to deter invasion of U.S. allies. We can rapidly deploy troops around the globe, from various parts of the world, to neutralize threats. I mean, if you served in the military, we have guys, very high speed teams and stuff like that all around the globe that is trained in a plethora of different skill sets. So, I mean, things could get nasty really quickly. Um, Making, essentially, this is, forward stationed units, making it where they can quickly strike enemy with troops, missiles, aircraft, drones, things like that. So essentially, we could be anywhere at a given notice. Number 3, our naval fleet. We have boats sitting out on the water 24 hours a day. I lived on one for quite some time. The Pacific Fleet and stuff like that. Subs, we've got aircraft carrier, nuclear capable subs, aircraft carriers, um, troop carriers with Marines from, highly trained Marines from the Marine Expeditionary Unit, Special Operations Capable. I was deployed with them, and you do a ton of training, and you sit basically waiting for something to happen. And typically, if you're with a MU, what we call it, you get deployed into places all the time, hot spots all the time. That's just how it is. There's also SEALs with us too, Navy SEALs. So you have MUSOC Marines and you have Navy SEALs that can be deployed, troop wise, anywhere as well. Fighter jets and missiles as well. So the aircraft carriers got fighter jets and stuff like that. So we could essentially destroy anyone coming in on either side of us, right? Number 4, now this is a dirty word as of late. A lot of conservatives don't like this word, NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. It would need to be gone before America could truly be attacked, because it's almost like you're a gang. The NATO's a gang. Like, you mess with one, you mess with all. Many dislike NATO. Many wants it disbanded. However, it would prevent an eastboard attack on the U.S. because they would have to make it through NATO allies to start even heading this direction. Right? There's certain ways that you have to move to let other countries know you are not trying to wage war. Like, you have to move in certain patterns, because if it's detected that someone's moving this, they'll get shot down. So that is another thing. NATO was founded to stop Soviet dominance following World War II. And during the Cold War, there was actually plans for an invasion, but the NATO alliance deterred them. So during the Cold War, the Soviets had planned on trying to invade mainland, like the Red Dawn movie, you know. Number 5, this is something a lot of you guys may not know about, but Greenland, the country. Greenland is very important to the U.S. military and its ballistic missile early warning system, as it balances in between Russia and China, commercial and military buildups in the Arctic. So we have something called Thule Base that mainly operates a missile warning system in space and satellite surveillance. The Soviets had actually planned to invade through Greenland, and they had that's why we set up our military presence there. Thule Air Base is tasked with protecting against nuclear attacks, while also ensuring that Russian aircraft do not attack any northern parts of the United States from the Arctic. In the event of an invasion, Greenland is the first line of defense for North American continent before matters reach U.S. mainland. Number 6, Alaska, similar to Greenland, is mainly a deterrent for China. And Japanese, actually, after 1812, where I said we had been invaded, in World War II, the Japanese actually tried to attempt to invade through Alaska and set up bases. So since then, we have amped up our troops in Alaska. And so the 7th one is the Second Amendment. Now, the Second Amendment was obviously developed to prevent federal overreach, but it would be a huge hurdle for invading forces. They had been in the middle of guerrilla warfare, like just tons of it. Americans have a fighting spirit, as we've seen throughout our history, our short history. Americans are built different. We fight. We have something like over 400 million firearms, I think. I could be wrong. It could be more than that now. But think about how many former combat veterans that are in the U.S. right now, because the 20 years of war, that are well versed in combat. So you got those guys out there, along with, the gang members, drug cartels. You have good old country boys. I mean, you have lots of folks, hunters, things like that. You also have just the regular veterans. They're trained in military tactics, weapon usage, things like that. It's an easy and cheap deterrent. An armed society is a safe society. We've seen that through history. You can look throughout the country. Where are the unsafest places? The ones that have the most strict gun laws, right? Usually Democrat ran. Now, what is our weaknesses? Number 1, the biggest. Thank you to Democrats, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, our southern border. They push to keep it open. They push to let anyone that wants to come across to come across. And even within the past year, we've had multiple known terrorists on the terror watch list come across, literally from the Middle East, come across to the Mexican border. And we have cartel members that are running massive multi-billion-dollar drug operations coming through there. Drug cartels truly have already invaded the U.S. They are the biggest invasion and probably the biggest threat because they're taking over cities with opioids and other various drugs. People are becoming drug addicts and things like that. And obviously, this leads to crime, murder, and all that kind of stuff. So it's helping to destroy small American towns all across and large cities all across the U.S. I would say this silent invasion is probably one of our biggest threats. It's difficult to stop, and it's difficult, more difficult to stop something like this than would be a conventional force coming up with tanks through Mexico. They could get bombed, right? But again, especially with the aid of Democrat politicians, they don't care. They want the invasion to happen and destroy our country. They're fine with that. Number two, a big one, cyber attacks on infrastructure. We've already seen that Russia can do that. And what does that mean? What it can do is create widespread panic and destruction from within, right? If you want to take out America, someone like us, someone so strong as us, you take us out from within. We crumble from within. Okay. Infrastructure meltdown, boom, EMP, something like that. Americans are, we're already in a fragile state. Again, thanks to Democrats and media. We are in a very, very bad situation. And that goes on to number three, economic collapse. Thanks again, Democrats. And we can't forget rhinos, Republicans in name only, people like Dan Crenshaw, people like Lindsey Graham, stuff like that. And Kenneth Dunlap, thank you. Man, I tell you, I was talking about becoming a politician before, and I really shied away from it. I was like, I don't really want to do this kind of stuff, but I'm seriously debating trying to even run against Lindsey Graham. I'm so tired of this guy. He is a fraud and all these sort of things. I'm not 100% certain, but I may try because I'm tired of this guy. But crushing us with inflation. I think it's like 7.9% right now. I mean, just destroying the middle and middle lower class. I mean, I would hate to know people trying to, they were saying, oh, we need to pay minimum wage. If you're a liberal Democrat watching this video and you believe that hype where they were saying, oh, we're going to pay you more money, you need to be able to live, this and that was all a lie because their inflation went up much higher than that little bitty raise that they were trying to give you. Okay. The gas costs up. It didn't mean anything. It was only ear taught to get them elected. And that's typically how they do everything. And rhinos as well, Republicans in name only. Cost of living going through the roof. Wait till you see a $15 gallon of milk here soon because gas prices. People with babies and things like that. It's going to be just ridiculous. It's going to be hard to live here soon. Civil unrest is number four, and civil unrest the catalyst to civil unrest could be any one of those things named above, or many other things. Think about Katrina. People are getting raped, robbed, and killed. We had a natural disaster that made essentially people refugees, and people are driving there to go rob, rape, and kill. So the thing is, people in the nature of humans, if they don't have some kind of morality through God or something like that, they're evil. People are evil. That's the way it is. And so that's why you have to defend yourself. You got to lock your doors because the nature of man is evil. So some civil unrest. I mean, we've seen civil unrest, political instability. We've seen that leading up to the media wars with liberal ran media trying to push division. They're owned by the Chinese. I did a video about that the other week. If you hadn't watched it, the Chinese is pushing this media division because they want to destroy America from within. And what do? The Democrat politicians, liberal media, they push division. They race bait. They race baiting politics. They victim mentality among minorities, and they try to help perpetuate division. They try to label the opposition as insurrectionist, racist, all these sort of things because they want to divide America, because that is China's goal. They want us to fall from within. They know they can't invade us because all those other things I listed, no one can invade us and fight us without us destroying ourselves first and then they can attack, right? The Roman Empire, crumbling from within. So the Roman Empire split apart because of politics, social issues. And then outside forces started invading them. So we would see more of that happening and essentially crumbling. So that is what we're looking at. So if you're falling for these liberal media, victim mentality, oh, woe is me, everybody's out to get me, I deserve more. Well, you got to put out more in life. You got to work harder and all these sort of things. You don't get anything for free. There's no free meals in this world, right? Everything's got to be paid for. So quit falling into this lies that they're telling you, because all they want is power. They don't really care about you. If they did, they wouldn't have $4.20 a gallon of gas, right? If they cared about you, they would care about opening up the pipelines, making it affordable for Americans to live. They don't care, right? Because they take your tax dollars and get rich off of them. Even the taxes alone, our forefathers would have been dumping tea in the harbor and raising hell already. I mean, it's just a fact of the matter, right? The other thing, though, is like talking about this Russia-Ukraine thing. I'd always thought, like everyone else, Russians were 10 foot tall and bulletproof. What I'm seeing is that the Russians are very disorganized. They have no idea what they're doing. Horrible logistics and things like that. Like, you would think they'd be a very much formidable force. I guess because we've been at war for 20 years and we're very well versed at it. And guerrilla warfare is difficult. Fighting people who you don't know who's the enemy. They're not wearing uniforms, and they haven't. They've been at war and they got their behinds whooped by the Taliban themselves. But I think maybe that's the reason why, because we see what they're doing now, and that they don't have the experience that we have. So, like I said, previous to this, I thought, man, the Russians would be difficult, but now I'm like, yeah, the nuclear thing, but they're probably lying about that anyway. So, but I guess what you have to be careful more so of, like I said, the last few things, is your fellow Americans turning on yourself, believing Chinese ran media, lies, Russian propaganda. It's just like I keep going back to these biolab deals. Now, the thing is that, do I think there's biolabs there? Probably, yeah, absolutely. There's probably so much more gangster stuff that you don't know what America does, because I know guys that did gangster stuff, and sometimes you don't know if you're the good guy or the bad guy. But the thing is that is Vladimir Putin being the freedom fighter and doing these things? Vladimir Putin has never done anything humanitarian in his life. I've been on humanitarian stuff. We've done humanitarian things. So if you're a good person, you go try to help people, right? So I wouldn't believe all of a sudden, oh, he's a freedom fighter today, right? But again, looking at our country, the division that Democrats and the liberal media has perpetuated, is obviously our enemy doing that. And they want to see us fall from within. It's the easiest way to defeat America. And Americans are falling for it. You have conservatives that are now pro-communist Putin. You know what I mean? I thought the commies were like these, very left-wing radicals, but you got conservatives just falling under the pro-Putin stuff now. I thought you're pro-America. The thing is that they'd rather see us get attacked by Russia, and Russia comes take over and puts you into gulag, and you'd be happier with that. No, what we do is get communists out of office is what we do, right? So as Americans, you got to step up. Like I've said, I did a video on how to fight, and the video basically was saying that you have to start fighting. You have to be a voice. You have to run for offices. You have to be involved in your kids' lives, because a lot of this is coming from parents that were working too much and not raising their kids. They're letting the liberal media, TV, raise their kids. I was Disney show my little girl was watching the other day, had a boy dressed up in a dress that he was with his sister, put on a dress, started dancing, and said, "Oh, everyone can be whoever they want to be." That was it. No more of that show, right? No. This is the type of indoctrination. You got to be involved in your kid's life and have to be watching what they're doing and raising them and being a man. So that's what I'm saying. Like, be an example, be a good person. Don't be the guy that's walking around with a chip on your shoulder because you hate your life, pissed off all the time, talking trash either. That's not an example. That's not being a good person, right? That's what communists do. Be a good person, right? Talk good to other people, do good things for the world, and raise your kids, right? Don't let TV do it. Anyhow, sorry that went off into a left field rant there. Um, did he have to snap like that? Yeah. Yeah, left field rant. Um, but again, this is kind of why, thank you, DJ. This is kind of why, like I've always said in Black Scout, is that, man, you have to be prepared because we don't know the situation. And to me, I really feel like it'd be more of an internal collapse situation. Have a way to defend yourself, have medicines, have foods, have these sort of things, right? Um, have a way to defend yourself, train, be in shape. Being in shape is so important. I know I talk about it all the time, but the thing is that what is the first thing you do in any military branch? You get in shape. That's the thing. That's why stronger people are harder to kill, right? You want to be strong, right? So yeah, join your local militia. That's the thing. That goes back to Second Amendment, but the Jase Medical, I talked about the antibiotic kits. If you haven't seen that video, go watch it. I'll put the link to that video so you can go check it out. And I talk about that, and you can get that uh, through Jase Medical. I don't have a discount code for them or anything, but then I'm developing a kit with whatchamacallit, nutrient survival. That's going to be a Black Scout Jack Richardson designed food kit that's going to come in a bucket, ready to go, grab and go, throw in your car. I think it'll be available next month, and then obviously your firearm stuff. And obviously, if you don't have a flashlight, get one of those. We sell one. We actually have came out one today, a new one I designed that is a flashlight, a smaller profile and things like that. If you want, I'll put the link. I don't even have one myself yet. I have the prototype, but we've made like 4 changes since I had the prototype. So you need a light, need to be able to identify targets, things like that. So yeah, someone said Netflix, Disney, and something. Yeah, I agree. My little girl, we don't have Disney. My little girl was watching YouTube and was clicking through things, and that popped up. But it was a Disney show because when I went to go search, I was like, "What is this? And why is this even a kid's show?" And it was Disney. So just so you know, so you didn't think I'm out here giving money to Disney. Anyhow, guys, do I think the woke military would be able to defend against an invasion? Well, there is some wokeness in the military. There's woke, obviously ideology that's entering, but I can tell you, like in a lot of the troops are not about that. So there may be some, but I would say there's a lot of guys in there that they ain't having that. So in our military, I mean, we were loaded, so we got a ton. And a lot of people, if it came down to an invasion, though, they're not going to want to be invaded unless you're pro Putin and wants them to come take over because you don't like Joe Biden and be put in the gulag, maybe. You know. Sorry, I promised my wife I wouldn't make that joke, but I couldn't help myself. A lot of pro Putin conservatives out there that want to come take over. Think he's the Messiah now. QAnon went from Trump to Putin. The QAnon is either a or um, CIA or Russian propaganda. I don't know which one. Maybe Chinese. Who knows? Someone says this came from South Africa. Some guy there, but I'm not sure. Could be. Um, Thank you, Mark Fallows, man. Yeah, I would like to see DeSantis too. DeSantis is he's a military guy. He's very articulate. The thing is that it's one thing to have balls. It's easy to have balls. It's another thing to be smart and articulate and have balls. Those are the people who run the world. you know. All right, guys, I don't want to stretch this out anymore. I got to do a few things before, but please go to Instagram. I'm going to go live with my recon Marine brother, Robert Spangle. He's got a company called Thousand Yard Style Observer Collection. He makes he makes high fashion like goods. He's a fashion photographer and stuff. You know, you wouldn't think a recon Marine would be that way, but yeah, he does fashion photography and he's good at it. And he works for lots of high profile magazines, and but he makes a lot of good gear too, like military inspired gear. Like I got one of his bags, are a little pricey, but bomb proof, like it's going to last me the rest of my life. So it's called the sea bag. Like in the Marines, we carry a sea bag, stuff like that. Makes wallets and things, very functional stuff, not just for looks, like it has function to it. But anyway, he does we've done survival videos before. He went to Afghanistan. We did a live about when he was in Afghanistan. I gave him some training before he went, and stuff like that. But we will be going live on Instagram, and we'll be talking about he's in Ukraine and Kiev, and we'll talk about that and what the on the ground situation is. So make sure you go follow me on Instagram so you can watch that. All right. Yeah, Gucci war belt, Someone, Kathy Irvin said, "Why do they put Biden in the hospital? Because he can't stop Putin." That's funny. That's funny. And she's a tribe member. Thank you for your support. And my moderator, Rip Curl Readiness, I always appreciate you, man. Always appreciate you keeping the comments clean there. Yeah, Alex Jones for Secretary of Defense. I'm good. I'm good with that. Yeah, yeah. I'm definitely not running. Seriously, it's the furthest thing from my mind. I want to be a politician. Furthest thing from my mind. But the thing is that, and I probably will lose going against Lindsey Graham. I mean, he's got so much deep pockets, hands in pockets, that it's going to be hard. But I feel like at this point in time that if no one else is going to step up to it, man, someone's got to do it. I hope you guys will support me if I do that. I probably won't be making many YouTube videos though if that happens. I'll be fighting out there in the real world. Yeah, Graham is a traitor for sure. Yeah, man, I would never make a presidential candidate, nor would I probably want to be president either. You wouldn't want me as president either. I wouldn't be taking no nonsense from anybody. People would hate me probably worse than Trump. I don't think you want a Marine in the White House. Marine sergeant, I don't think you want that. All right, guys. Thank you, man. Y'all have a blessed night. Appreciate you hanging out with me. I tried to do this one earlier. Take a little break. I know I've seen a lot of you guys say you're on night shift. Take a little break. Hit me on Instagram. We're going to be live with Robert Spangle. Anyhow, we'll try to do it sooner or later, but it should be probably about 30 or 40 minutes we'll be on with him. But anyhow, we'll post it. So if you don't stay up, if you got to go to sleep, got to go to work tomorrow, take the kids to school or whatever, you'll be able to see it on Instagram in the morning. Okay. So, and I'll post it there to make sure you see it. And I'll actually try to post it on YouTube if I can, like the link, so you can go see it too. But I think you have to have an Instagram account to view. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not a tech guy, but social media guy. I'm a default influencer. Like I didn't mean to be. I just wanted to sell survival products. So it didn't mean for this to happen. But anyhow, guys, again, appreciate you, man. Make sure you stay frosty, stay strapped, stay dangerous. Go check us out on that live soon. Anyhow, guys, take care. Have a good weekend.